In this video, I'll be talking about the role of markets in allocating resources. So now let's look at the key resources allocation decision. So first, we have to decide what to produce, how to produce it, and who is to receive the product produced. So now let's look at the economic system, and it is the institution, organizations, and mechanisms in a country that influence the economic behavior and determine how resources are allocated. So let's look at the types of economic system. So we have a planned economy. Next we have a market economy. And lastly we have a mixed economy. So what is a planned economy? A planned economy is when government makes all the decisions, land and capital are state-owned, and resources are allocated by directives. And directives are state instruction given to state-owned enterprises. Next we have market economy. Market economy is when consumers determine what is produced and resources are allocated by price mechanisms, and land and capital are privately owned. Price mechanism is also known as market mechanism, and it provides an incentives for producers to respond to the changes in the market conditions. Now let's look at mixed economy, and as the name suggests, a mixed economy is where both private and public sectors are involved. So capital intensive is when firms use more capital than labor, and labor intensive is when firms use more labor than capital. So now let's look at market equilibrium. Market equilibrium is also known as price equilibrium, and this is when supply and demand are equal at the current price. So the allocation of goods is most efficient at this point. Here is the supply and demand curve, and where the two curves intersect is the market equilibrium. So now let's go into market disequilibrium. So a market disequilibrium is when there's a difference between supply and demand. So a shortage is when there's excess demand, and a surplus is when there's excess supply. Here's the demand and supply curve to show the market disequilibrium. As you can see, when the price is set high, there's a surplus because there's more supplies than the demand. And when the price is set low, there's a shortage because the demand is higher than the supply. So demand is the willingness and ability to buy a product. Supply is the willingness and ability to sell a product. So now let's look at the factors that affect the demand. First we have price, and then we have consumer preferences, consumer income, price of complementary goods, interest rates, and consumer population. Moving on to factors that affect the supply is the cost of factors of production, the global factors, technology advancement, and the business expectations.